Hey, what's up guys? I'm here with my new Magicka Templar build for PvP. This is in Blackwater Blade, non-veteran, no champion points. I was a little reluctant to release this build right away as soon as I'm doing, but I figured why not. This build has been amazing for me so far in PvP. In this non-vet campaign, I've been able to hit 15k dark flares with this massive damage build, and it works really well. So just one thing, keep in mind, my gear right now is not the same level as me. It's actually significantly lower, so if you use fresh gear, your stats will be higher than mine. Right. But this is a no champion point build, works for non-vet or veteran. You could use it in champion point campaigns as well. You just have to set up your champion points to however you prefer. But anyways, anybody can use this build. All you have to do is get the gear and you're all set. So let me just buff up and show you the full stats. So again, keep in mind my damage is going to be lower than yours if you have higher level gear. So fully buffed right now, I have 4,435 spell damage. I've seen over 4,700 spell damage with this build, but you know, it is what it is. You can't keep super high damage all the time in non-vet campaigns. Okay, so to go into gear, we're using 5 Julianos and 5 Alchemists. So how we're going to achieve this, because you only have 9 slots, we're going to use a Restoration Staff as our backup. And we're going to use potions on our back bar to get fully buffed, and then we'll switch to this Julianos bar to get the 5-piece spell damage. So the traits, I have Precise for extra criticals, because I want to get those crits. When I get crits, you know, really high damage, 13k, 14k dark flares. Combo that with Radiant Destruction, you could wipe people in less than a second at times. I mean, I haven't seen that many high damage builds out here, and quite frankly, I think this is like one of the most highest damage builds you could possibly make in Blackwater. So I'm using this. Impen on the armor, I just like to be more resistant. I want to be able to 1vx a little bit, even though it's a lot harder without champion points. If you haven't played these campaigns, it takes more skill, and I think these are really it's a really balanced campaign, so you should try it out. But anyways, back to the build. I'm using willpower jewelry. It's not too hard to get. You could go on one of your veteran characters and get the bone shards and the dark ether real quick. I don't really care about the traits. I got one arcane necklace, robust ring, and a healthy ring. I don't have the time to farm too much, so once I got my rings, I was like, okay, that's it. The traits, as you level up, they're less significant. It's not that big of a deal. You lose like 100 stats in 5 levels, which is nothing, but the enchantments remain the same. So you could use level 10 jewelry. As long as you enchant them with purple glyphs, they'll be 140 scaled spell damage. Yeah, that's what I'm using, spell damage, enchants on the glyphs, the jewelry. So for the skills, our front bar is going to be our offensive bar. Puncturing Sweep is not our main DPS. We don't use this primarily. This is really taxing on the Magicka sustain, because you could miss. Quite frankly, you miss a lot for some reason in these campaigns. It's hard to get snares on people. I'm not using anything for a real snare besides sweeps. So I don't use this as my primary DPS. I use this when someone's reflecting or someone's in my face. Our main DPS is going to be Dark Flare. This is really strong. It gives you the 20% empower. And our heal is going to be Honor the Dead. You could switch this for Breath of Life, but I like the Magicka recovery for this. Radiant Oppression. You could go with the other morph too. I just choose this. That's going to be our Execute. And I use Inner Light for extra critical and some extra Magicka. I'm also a vampire, so I'm using Devouring Swarms. If you're going to craft the Magicka Templar, I suggest you get Vampire as soon as possible so you could get Devouring Swarm as soon as possible, because I had to level this in PvP, and that was a problem. I got my Vampire at level 35, and I didn't have Bat Swarms until about level 44. The morph, at least. And our back bar, we're going to use Magicka Detonation. This hasn't really done too much damage, Proximity Detonation. It's really good if a lot of people are around you. It's a good burst DPS. You should definitely get this if you can. In the meantime, if you don't have this, you could put Spear Shards or Eclipse. Put repentance here too because it's good to get some extra healing from dead bodies. It helps you maintain stamina. I use toppling charge. Before I used to use spear shards over here, but then I realized a lot of people would just get away from me when I was using Magicka Detonation, so this is a good gap closer. Structured entropy is good for your buff. If you want to get your spell damage. If you're not using spell damage potions, you're going to need to have this. So train your mage's guild. It also gives you some extra health, but that's not too important. And purifying ritual as your cleanse. Backup ultimate, I'm using Praxis Incantation. This is just good for when you're playing with your friends. It'll help you stay alive. So, just a few other things about this build. I do make my own potions, but it's not important that you do. See, this is just a detection potion. I didn't make a detection because I cared about the detection. I just made it because that's the only materials I had. It only lasts 7 seconds, so it's not a big deal. But it does give me the spell damage buff, which is the main reason I made it. It saved me from using entropy all the time. But again, you don't have potions all the time, so entropy is still needed on your back bar. It's all personal preference, to be honest. So yeah, make sure when you're leveling this build, because it's not easy to get into PvP on a low level character with all the skills you need. You're going to need to prioritize your 3 main trees. See, I use Restoration Staff as my backup, but I don't use any skills. I don't have any passives either. I'm using full light armor, but you could be more tanky and have less sustain with some 2-piece heavy armor, which would be a decent idea. I would have tried it out, but I'm almost level 46. I really don't care at this point. I might try it out when I'm around level 48 and I recraft my gear. Fighters Guild, I leveled up just for the sake of it. Assault. Passives. You want to get as many passives as you can, so farming some sky shards is a good idea because you're going to be a vampire and you're going to have to get these skill points to get these passives, and you're not going to have enough from just leveling. I didn't really farm too many sky shards because I just don't have patience, but that's another thing. Just do that when you're leveling this build. So no passives for Resto Staff or skills. I mean, if you had skill points, why not? But I wouldn't use any skills. You could. Steadfast Ward is pretty nice, but I just don't use it. It's pretty expensive too. Dual Wield, I would get some passives as well. If you get this. Because of the Twin Blade and Blunt, and each sword increases your damage done by 1.5%. But this would be hard to level up. It's up to you. Personal preference once again. I don't use any skills when leveling. If you start off leveling, I would just have Dual Wield equipped and just try to slot as many from these. Aedric Spear is not too important. Once you get here, you don't really need Sun Shield for this build. Balanced Warrior you don't need, but it does help with spell resistance, so I'm going to get a skill point soon and get that. Passives here, you want to try to get all these passives. You probably won't get this unless you level up to 50. You want to get Radiant Oppression, that's important for PvP. Passives here, everything. And yeah, that's about it. I don't want to make this video too long. Champion points I can't really get into. I'll just show you what I set up while I was training. I had 53 in Elfborn. I don't even have it in Elemental Expert. I trained this character before the Thieves Guild Expert, so I have to reset all of this. Yeah, see, this is just a mess, but champion points I would say do on your own. I can't even show you a tutorial right now. But if you were to do your champion points, I would say get some in Quick Recovery. Try to balance it between Hardy and Elemental Defender, which is actually already balanced. Resistant is really good for critical. You could get Light Armor Focus, but it's not that big of a deal. For here, you're going to want to focus in Reduced Cost because you're going to be a low recovery build. Arcanist, get someone there. Tumbling is important too for champion point PvP. You really want to be able to sustain and break free, because if you get down, you're going to die. To take care of this, you'd obviously want to go probably full into Elemental Expert. If you have 100 champion points, get it in here, because it's going to give you your magic damage, buff up your dark flares and your biting jabs. Get some critical bonus. I would focus on that, and then try to get some here too. A little bit like here, 20, 20 maybe, 100 or even 90. And then Thaumaturge to increase your jabs. But again, it's not a jabs heavy build. Again, champion points is all up to you. I don't use this in champion point campaign. It's just for Blackwater Blade. So let me just show you the level of my gear. 44 swords, 44 Julianos, 42 Alchemist. If you get fresh gear, you'll have even higher stats. So once again, 4,435 spell damage right now. I'm using blue food. I do have an offensive scroll bonus. I do have an emperorship bonus as well. Purple food would be even better. I'm just too lazy to go get some. But anyways, that's enough of this build. The video's getting too long. If you guys have any questions, leave a comment below. And feel free to ask if you ever need help. See you later.